From its inception, many were skeptical of an energy project that would bring natural gas from the Eastern Mediterranean to Europe. Back in 2020, the Greek Cypriot administration and Israel signed a proposal to build a 1,900-kilometer long pipeline. At a cost of nearly $7 billion, the subsea link would bypass Turkiye and the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus to bring gas to Europe. In an abrupt U-turn from the previous U.S. administration, Washington recently voiced concerns about the project's viability. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan echoed those remarks, saying that transporting gas from the Eastern Mediterranean to Europe can't be done without Turkiye. Touted as an alternative to Russian natural gas, the pipeline would have carried 10 billion cubic meters a year to Europe. Ankara says that the pipeline passes disputed waters and excludes the rights of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Tensions in the Eastern Mediterranean have risen in recent years after the discovery of large gas fields. Several countries in the region have competing claims over those reserves and the right to explore any potential new finds. And to discuss what the latest U.S. move could mean, joining me now from Ankara is Giray Sadik. He is the Director of European Studies Research Center at Ankara Yıldırım Beyazıt University. And from New York, Mark Meirowitz. He is a professor at State University of New York Maritime College. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. So the U.S. publicly expressed last week that it no longer supported the construction of the EastMed pipeline, citing environmental problems, regional tensions, as well as financial viability. So, Giray, why is the U.S. pulling the plug in the EastMed project?
Well, better late than never. The market, I mean the energy companies, including some U.S. companies, which are supposed to benefit from that pipeline infrastructure, already voiced their critiques about the financial and commercial viability of the project and huge costs associated with the pipeline investment. On top of that, rising regional tensions, which the U.S. also cited as one of its core reasons of abandoning the project, are also cited, and environmental concerns. So
yes,
it shows that U.S. government have better appreciation of the facts on the ground now. So better late than never.
So, Mark, how viable and sustainable was it to invest in fossil fuels at a time when the European Union is aiming to move towards more renewable energy sources?
Well, I'd like to deflect a little bit because I think the issue is really not so much environmental. I think it's American foreign policy where the Biden administration now is abdicating its international responsibilities to simply say and write a non-paper that, gee whiz, we don't support this anymore, is really not in accord with American foreign policy. Furthermore, the idea that this is going to, because of the regional tensions the United States is pulling out, I read that differently to mean that what we're talking about, the United States is focusing on its threat from Russia and Ukraine, the threats from China, and it simply doesn't have enough space in its foreign policy to deal with this. This is really a new development. This is really a pullback.
Yeah, but the U.S. is offering an alternative, which we will be talking momentarily. But Giray, experts had long argued that this project was unviable now that the U.S. has taken its stand. So what does it tell about us, the original motives of this project? I mean, was it a politically driven project rather an economically viable one?
Well, considering the previous warnings from the companies involved and reportedly also from Israel, some sources, and some American and Turkish sources, so economically, the warnings have been there for a while. I agree with Mark that originally the issue is about politics, so it was politically driven from the very beginning, and not surprisingly, its end become also as a result of international politics and shifts in international politics in that regard. But about U.S. commitments, it's important to remember that Turkey is a NATO ally, and U.S. also does have commitments to Turkey in that regard. And in that regard, Turkey is also an important partner in light of recent geopolitical developments in the Black Sea and so on. So those are also important American commitments to its treaty-bound ally Turkey, with second largest army after US.
So, Mark, could this move have been a signal by the US that it wants to strengthen regional cooperation with Turkey moving forward?
Maybe. I hope so, but I'm not so sure, because the relationship between the United States and Turkey is pretty difficult right now, a number of issues. So I think that this idea that the United States wants to engage with Turkey and help Turkey, and it hasn't done so. And so far, if you look at the balance of these issues, Turkey was on one side and all the other states were on the other side. And people were not paying sufficient attention, in my opinion, to Turkey's issues and Turkish concerns. And as I think my colleague indicated, of course, the companies, that's really also an important issue here. A lot of this is about the companies and their ability to look for these resources and to build these pipelines. That's what it's all about. And so the United States coming along now, I wouldn't interpret it really as well, we're going to side with Turkey now. It's just that they just don't want to have a problem in this area, because I think the United States has so many problems now.
Yes.
It just has so much on its plate, and it cannot deal with this. And I would add, as a last point, that with the issues with Turkey, I think the United States doesn't want to add another big issue on this list. So at the present time, and handle the other issues.
Yeah, so Giray, the US, it says it's shifting focus to electricity interconnectors that can support both gas and renewable energy sources, and that they are very committed to physically interconnecting EastMed energy to Europe. I mean, how would a project like that play out? And do you believe that Turkey will be sidelined from such projects in the future?
I think that's a very important question. I mean, clearly, EastMed looks abundant from US perspective and from regional perspective as well. So when we look at to renewables and alternatives, which Greek officials also indicated that they are interested, we need some sort of a mind shift or mentality shift to have a more inclusive framework. It has become now abundantly clear that without Turkey, such initiatives are not sustainable and they are doomed to fail, which was voiced many times, including by Turkish President Recep Tayyip.
Yeah, President Erdogan just spoke about the US's skepticism of EastMed pipeline, Mark, and he agreed that the project was just unviable. So can you explain why Turkiye is needed to make any project feasible in Eastern Mediterranean?
Well, this goes to a bigger issue in terms of looking at the region. This idea that Turkey is not included in these important issues is really a no-starter. And also, I would say, because we really didn't talk about it yet, but in terms of Cyprus, in terms of the EastMed Forum, in terms of all these other issues, it's very clear that Turkey has not been included, and its concerns have not been taken into account. That is really not a very good way to work for regional peace and because again, all these projects should be worked on by all these countries together, not by excluding one of the very important players, which is Turkey. And I just think that was always a non-starter. But to understand the factors here, I think it's a combination of these factors. About the renewable energy and all that, climate change, renewable energy, environmental, yes, it sounds very good, but to the extent, how do you implement it if you don't include all the players? That's the problem.
So, Giray, the Greek side seems to be understanding the U.S. decision and see it as a chance to reframe dialogue around energy and climate change, let's say. So could this bring Turkish and the Greek sides closer together? Because we know that they're already connected by undersea cables, and Turkiye and Greece trade electricity. So how is that going to play out in the future?
Certainly infrastructure is there. Question is if political commitment is forthcoming in that regard. In addition to energy pipelines, which Turkey offers the most viable route, when it comes to electricity interconnectivity, also Turkey provides another most viable solution. Therefore, when it comes to energy diversification and therefore energy security of Europe, away from Russia, Turkey also emerges as a key player for European energy security, and therefore also as an outreach platform for the energy resources from the EastMed and Middle East, broadly speaking, towards Europe.
Yes. So if, Mark, these regional countries move towards an electricity project, what will happen to the untapped energy reserves in the Eastern Mediterranean? I mean, will they just abandon those activities?
Well, I'm no expert in this area of energy, but I would say, again, to look at the political issues in terms of Greece and Turkey being able to work together on important projects to benefit both countries. They seem to be stuck in a bad position right now on Aegean and so forth, which we will talk about. But again, we need to work together. You can work together, you can get anything accomplished. And certainly, again, as I said before, Turkey, and as my colleague indicated, Giray, I think, is a key player here. I mean, there's no avoiding it. But again, it's a bigger issue. These issues are all indicative, symptomatic of the problems on the ground, and getting Greece and Turkey together to work together on all these issues is absolutely essential, and we're not doing it sufficiently. It's not happening sufficiently.
Giray, what's your take on that? What will happen to Turkey's seismic research activities in the Eastern Mediterranean? Will they cease, and are we likely to see a more stable Eastern Mediterranean in the near future?
Well, at least U.S. making its stance clear should act as a kind of warning for the Greek infringements on Turkish energy and maritime rights, and also of the rights of Turkish Cypriots in the region. And so that is a one step further, the U.S. adopting a more balanced approach to NATO allies.
Yes.
In the broader region, President Erdogan indicated that we bought those important search ships and seismic ships for energy exploration to be used in the Black Sea and in the Mediterranean.
Yes.
So we should expect them to be used in areas of legitimate Turkish maritime rights.
Yes.
And therefore, it should be considered that Turkey uses them for legitimate energy exploration.
All right, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.